Thank you. Clerk Fontaine, if you could please do the roll call.
Councilmember John Larson.
Yes.
Councilmember Missy White.
Present.
Councilmember Dan Hahn.
Present.
Councilmember Melinda Cox.
Present.
Councilmember Josh Hahn.
Yes.
Council President, Mayor Pro Tem Julia Stubble.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Thank you, Clerk Fontaine. I would entertain a motion to approve our agenda for tonight.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman Larson. Second. Seconded by Councilwoman White. Any discussion or amendments? Councilman Josh Hahn.
Yes.
Councilman Cox.
Yes.
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 And yes, that agenda is approved. We will now move into our public comment, our communication from the floor. It's nice to see you all here. If you have a comment to give, please approach one of the microphones, make sure it's turned on, and state your name for the record. Comments will be 3 minutes, and we have a timer here. We'll also let you know when your 3 minutes are done. Thank you for coming, and we look forward to your comments.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, I'm Kathleen Averill. I live here in Lander. I just want to say that this duly elected council has been placed in a moral and ethical dilemma. Tonight, you are tasked by state law with electing a candidate to fulfill the remaining term of mayor. If you allow it to, the law has the potential to permit you to do something that is on its face wrong and unethical. The Ethics and Conflict of Interest Handbook for Municipal Officials, full of additional laws, of course, requires you act with perception in mind. In other words, if your act can be perceived to be self-serving, for example, you should act differently, but still within the law. How voters perceive their elected officials is how they perceive their government, as you well know. A citizen's vote is sacrosanct or too valuable to be interfered with. It is also protected by the Voting Rights Act in both the U.S. and Wyoming constitutions. The law that you will be using tonight puts you into a position to violate all because you are presented with an opportunity to overrule the voters, nullifying their votes for their choice for mayor. You're lucky this time. You can still, within that law, perform the right and ethical act. The only legitimate candidate for mayor that you have before you is Dan Hahn, who actually received over 47% of the vote in the previous mayoral election, losing, if I remember correctly, by only 120 votes. He is the choice of the people. No other council member has received any votes for mayor in any election because they apparently did not want the position bad enough to work for it in the at-large mayoral voter pool. You are all elected officials as well, voted onto the city council to represent the people of Lander and uphold their will despite your personal feelings on a matter. Based upon the numbers, many voters who voted for you also voted for Dan Hahn. I expect you to do the right and ethical thing and uphold the will of the voters by protecting their votes. Will you? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Averill.
Mayor Pro Tem and City Council, thank you for letting us come tonight and share our comments. I apologize for any duplication with the previous speaker. My name is Philip Strong. I would urge the City Council as well to vote for Dan Hahn. I don't say this to disparage any other candidates, as I believe that they would handle the mechanics of the office of mayor just fine. And I don't say this based upon ideology. I say this as a matter of principle. It is a basic principle of these United States of America that we are a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. We are a republic. We said it as we said the Pledge of Allegiance this evening. There is something wrong with a representative form of government that does not represent the people it claims to represent. There are certain things that a person must be in order to be mayor. He must be an American citizen, a resident of Lander, not be a felon. He must be mentally capable, etc. On this point, you are all equally qualified, I assume. Where you are different is that Dan Hahn is the only one who stated his intention of running for mayor during the last election for mayor. Only Dan Hahn did the heavy lifting of running a campaign, and only Dan Hahn had his wheels kicked. Only Dan Hahn received 47% of the vote. No one else on the council did. Almost 50% of the voters of the people of Lander went to Dan Hahn. Now you, the city council, are about to vote for a candidate who did not run, who was not vetted, who did not garner any votes from this town for mayor, and are about to deem what it thinks is best for Lander, not recognizing the will of the people it represents. Our government, again, is a republic. It is representative. To vote for anyone other than Dan Hahn is to undermine the principle of representation. You may justify it by claiming it is legal, but I would question if it is morally right and if it is wise, as I believe it does do long-term damage to our representative form of government. And so I would therefore urge, without personal bias, just the principle alone, I would urge you to vote for Dan Hahn. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Strong.
I think Dan Hahn's a good candidate. I support Julia Stubel as our next mayor.
Would you mind stating your name for the record, please?
I'm Jane Lynn.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you, Ms. Lynn. Mr. Woolwine? See you.
Mayor Pro Tem, Council. My name is Tim Sheehan, and I just basically wanted to go along with the same thing. I came with the idea that the person that had the most, votes in the last election, other than Monty, was Dan. I think he should be the one. As you look back on our history, the vice president originally was the person with the second highest number of votes for the country president. I think that would work well here. And it's possible that maybe by a show of hands, people could show if they all had the same opinion, or those that want to change something, just make life a little quicker here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sheehan.
Charles Woolwine. It is my opinion that with regard to the day-to-day operation of the city, each one of you is qualified to do this job. Fix potholes, Christmas tree lighting, 4th of July parade, remind us to drip our spigots, obtain grants for new parks, sewer maintenance, police department, fire department, parking, new businesses, signs, etc. I have no doubt that any one of you could do the job. But these types of things represent only the surface of our city. My concern is for our city runs much deeper. My concern is for the very soul of our city. With that said, who do I want to see as Lander's next mayor? Quite simply, the one who will commit to proclaiming the city of Lander to be a safe haven for all unborn little girls and boys. After all, why not? As I have previously explained, the USA, including Wyoming and the city of Lander, are slaughtering thousands of unborn little girls and boys every day. At the February 11th meeting, I concluded my allocated 3 minutes with, I want to remind all of us that God is watching, and God is not stupid, and God is not impressed with how America, including Wyoming and the city of Lander, are killing his unborn little girls and boys. Have you ever heard the saying that children are a gift from God? Folks, you cannot expect God to bless Lander, the state of Wyoming, or the United States of America, while at the same time, each and every day, we are killing thousands of his unborn little girls and boys. Then, while attending Mayor Richardson's memorial service, I heard over and over and over again how we should be kind to one another, how we should respect one another and love one another. In my opinion, this loving, caring, kindness, and respect extends not only to those of us who were fortunate enough to have been born but also includes those little unborn girls and boys who are yet to be born. How on earth can we be kind to our already birthed neighbors while at the same time butchering our future little trick-or-treaters? Killing unborn children is evil, and the USA, including Wyoming and the city of Lander, is guilty of this horrendous practice. It is time for Lander to stand up and lead the way for not only Wyoming, but for all of America as well. So for me, the choice for who should be mayor is simple. The person who is unashamedly pro-life and as mayor will quickly proclaim Lander to be a safe haven for all unborn little girls and boys. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Woolwine. If you're on Zoom and you would like to make a public comment, please use the raise your hand feature. And we'll check for those after this next speaker.
Hi, I'm Sarah Riley. First, I want to say thank you to all of you for the service that you put forward to this community. It is greatly appreciated, and this is a situation that nobody ever wanted to find themselves in. So I appreciate the difficulty of the decision that you all have to make this evening. I want to say that the current statutes of our state do allow you to make a choice from within the council. Each one of you was duly elected by our community. And I think that to ignore that would be a mistake. I'm not saying that it isn't impressive that Councilman Hahn got 47% of the votes. That's fantastic. That is a huge show of support from our community. However, each of you was elected to represent the community. And I think that it's fair for you to choose from amongst yourselves. And I think that you need to also recognize that the election for mayor was 2 years ago, and sometimes things change. And had any of you had the opportunity to run for mayor at the time, the votes might have looked different. So I just wanted to say that I support the process, and I appreciate the time and energy and effort that is going into this. I know you've all received a lot of information from the community over the last couple of weeks to let you know who people support and why. And I trust that you're all going to use that as a sign from the community as well of where people stand right now and who they support and why. So thank you very much for this very difficult job that you have tonight. Thank you for everything that each one of you does for the city of Lander. I do want to say that those of you that I've had the opportunity to sit and visit with over the years for a variety of different reasons, whether it was talking about art or politics or whatever, everybody has been fantastic to sit and talk with. And I think that that means that you would continue that tradition for our community. However, my personal belief this evening is that I would really like to see Councilwoman White as our next mayor. And I hope that you would consider her and her leadership and her expertise and experience and vast knowledge. And again, that's not disparaging anybody else because I think you're all brilliant. So thank you for what you do and for letting us speak this evening.
Thank you, Mrs. Riley. I'm not seeing any raised hands for Zoom. So are there? Please go ahead.
Yeah.
Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to thank all of you council members for all the hard work you put in. I know it's a thankless job at times, and I think any of you would make a good mayor. But I have one point I would like to bring up. In the primary election, Dan Hahn got the most votes. In the general, Dan got 47% of the votes. I feel that you correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he's the longest standing council member. I think he understands the city. He understands the operations. He's conservative. I have no doubt that Julia is going to be a good mayor too, whoever we pick. But I would ask you to think about this. The citizens of Lander spoke in the primary. Dan Hahn got the most votes, 47% in the general. And he's dedicated part of his life to this city. And I would just ask that you consider that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I'm sorry, would you state your name for the record? Sir, I'm sorry, could you state your name for the record, for the recording? Thank you.
I'm sorry, Warren Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. While we wait, please approach Ms. Weitzel, but I want to see if we have the Zoom feature fixed to be able to. I'll just ask for comments. So thank you, Ms. Weitzel. If you're on Zoom, we'll ask for your comments in the next speaker. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Good evening, Pro Tem Mayor Stubble and council members. I'd like, as everybody else has done, to thank you for the selfless job that you guys do up here. I know it's can sometimes be, as I said, a pretty selfless position for you guys to hold. I believe that Dan Hahn should be elected or appointed the next mayor of Lander. I think there are some obvious reasons. A couple of people have already stated some of them, but he did receive 47.64% of the mayoral vote in 2022. He's the longest sitting member of the Lander City Council. He has, I believe, both business and engineering experience. He will be fair and balanced to all the people of Lander. And I'd just like to make sure that any emails that the council has received or any petitions that have been signed that are from people that actually live in Lander, not another city, and that any email that was received that stated either Julia or Missy, I consider that to be biased. To say either Julia or Missy to become the mayor of the city of Lander is a biased vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Weitzel. And I'm not sure if you stated your name for the record, but I will. Thank you, Wetzel. I'm sorry, and I'm mispronouncing too. Thank you, Karen. Is there anyone on Zoom wanting to give comment? Thank you, Lance. Any other comment from the room?
Kara Kolovich, 967 Hobson Street. Again, you all are very qualified for the job. I just want to express one concern that I have with Councilmember Hahn, and I hope you do not take this as a personal attack because it is not meant to be that. But I've been trying to reach out to you. I'm in your ward. From November of 2022, January 2023, October 2023, November 2023, I emailed your council member email and wanting to have coffee with you, wanting to talk about my concerns, wanting to hear how you want to run government. I never received responses. I tried to talk to you at open house events. You did not engage with me. And then I was given or notified that sometimes you respond to your work email. So I tried that route, and it just makes me frustrated when I try and put myself out there and want to engage, and I don't feel that reciprocated. So that is my only concern. And I just want to say, like, Monty always made the time. Whenever I was in City Hall here, always said hello, always invited me into the office. I felt seen and appreciated. So when I hear that you bring concerns of your constituents, I just want to make sure that you're bringing concerns of all of your constituents, because I do live in your ward and I've tried to reach out and I just don't feel like that's been reciprocated. Again, it's not a personal attack, just I hope that if you do get this mayorship, that you do extend that to everybody who you serve. And again, you all would be great, but that was just one comment I wanted to make. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kolovich. Other comments? Any comments on Zoom? Thank you. Please proceed. Yep. Thank you.
Hi, council members. My name's Joanna Harder. I'm a Lander resident. First, I just wanted to say thank you all for your public services council members, and for being very thoughtful in your decision to determine someone to fill the mayor role in this unfortunate event. I would just like to reiterate, we do have procedures in place to address the selection of a mayor to fulfill the remainder of Richardson's length of his service. And I just want to say thank you for fulfilling your role as elected officials. That is part of your duty. And thank you for thoughtfully selecting someone to finish out that role. A mayor to me needs to be a strong leader. And to me, to a lot of people, that means different things. To me, that means someone who is genuinely interested in hearing from and also considering the diverse perspectives and issues that different people in our community have. It means someone who takes time to be involved in many different aspects of our community, and someone who considers both current and future needs of our community. And Julia is someone who I think represents each of these qualities well, and I'd like to give my support for her as mayor. Being involved actively in multiple city initiatives and community groups, including several different task forces. I think she's already very accessible to many different people in the community, and I believe that she would carry that collaborative approach into the future in her role as mayor. I'd also just like to address a comment that's been brought up a couple times here. Dan Hahn did get a large percent of the last mayoral vote. However, each of you represent specific wards, and I think that just needs to be considered in who you represent as the people in your wards, not necessarily everyone who happened to vote for Councilman Hahn. So again, thank you all for your service. I know this is a tough job dealing with all the different people in our community. And thank you for considering my thoughts tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Harder. Other comments? Anyone on Zoom interested, Lance? If you're on Zoom and you can hear me, we will take a comment from you. I know I can be hard to hear. Any other comments in the room? Okay. Thank you all. Thank you for those who've commented tonight. Thank you for attending, and our thanks, I think, if I can, on behalf of the council, for everyone who has emailed in or called or provided other comments leading up to this meeting. We do make better decisions when we hear from you. So thank you for your efforts. We will move on now to item 4 on our agenda, the consent agenda. The items on the consent agenda tonight are approving the February 11th, 2025 regular city council minutes and approving the February 18th, 2025 special city council meeting minutes. I would entertain a motion to approve before we discuss.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman Hahn.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Josh Hahn and moved by Councilman Dan Hahn. Now discussion. Any amendments to the minutes? I did have one that I'll propose. I don't know if I can make a motion to amend. So I'll seek somebody else to make this motion, but the attendance for the February 18th meeting should be corrected. Our police department representation was Captain Waugh, not Chief Peters, for February 18th. So would one council member please make that motion to amend?
Move to amend the agenda of the February 18th
Yes.
meeting to note that it was Captain Waugh present.
Thank you, Councilman White. Can I have a second for that amendment?
Second.
Thank you, Councilman Larson. Any discussion on that motion to amend? Great. Councilman Larson, we'll start with you.
Yes.
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 And yes, the motion to amend passes. Now we need to vote on the motion to approve the minutes as amended. We have a motion on the table. Councilman Josh Hahn.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilman Cox.
Yes.
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 Great. The consent agenda and the minutes are approved unanimously. We now move on to item 5, which is a new business non-action item. It'll be a discussion on City Ordinance 12-5-2, the procedure of filling City Council member vacancies. Attorney Phillips, can you please introduce this item?
Certainly. So obviously tonight, one of you will be appointed or elected or whatever you want to say to be the new mayor. When that occurs, then they will have to resign their position as the council member. Our ordinances say that we have to accept that resignation at the following meeting. And so the swearing in of the mayor won't happen until the following meeting pursuant to our ordinances. The process for appointing a vacant seat for a council member is outlined in City Ordinance 1252. It's pretty simple. We've done it before because we've had previous council members resign their position for various reasons. The council takes applications. We advertise it for 2 or 3 weeks, if I remember right, 3 weeks. And we take applications, the council interviews those individuals, and then you select whoever that's going to be to fill the position. So fairly simple procedure. Generally, we have 90 days to fill that position. We can go as fast as council would like to go. Questions that I can answer?
Councilman Dan Hahn.
Is that advertised?
Yes, for 3 consecutive weeks.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Cox? Okay. So I think just to make a finer point on it, at our last special council meeting, we agreed to tonight make a decision on who the mayor would be, and that's what we're going to do. We'll take that nomination and vote. But because of this ordinance regarding the resignation of that council person who will be nominated and voted on mayor, that person cannot resign tonight. They'll have to submit their resignation in writing tonight, tomorrow. That is accepted at our next meeting. So I encourage whichever council member to do that expeditiously so that we can have the acceptance of that resignation on the March 11th council meeting, at which point that person's resignation will be accepted and we will swear in that person as the mayor and kick off the filling the vacancy on the council then, knowing which ward we will be looking at. And I can say, with the authority I have tonight, at least, that we will expect to have a lengthy, obviously the notice will be for 3 weeks. We'll allow quite a bit of time for applications for interested citizens to apply. And then there'll be interviews generally with council, and council will then vote. So expect a 1 to 2 month, probably a 2-month process for us to solicit applications and make that decision on filling that council vacancy. Council, any other comments on that additional piece? Okay, great. Thank you all. Let's move on then to item 6, our new business action item, which is to nominate and vote to fill the vacancy in the office of mayor in accordance with City Ordinance 1251 and Wyoming Statute 15-1-107. I'll make 3 calls for nomination and accept nominations during that time. Everybody ready? Are there any nominations for the office of mayor?
Mayor Stubble?
Councilman Larson.
Yes, I'd like to nominate Missy White to be mayor.
Councilwoman White, do you accept that nomination?
I'm rendered speechless. Councilmember Larson, I deeply appreciate that and I'm honored by your nomination and I do accept it. Thank you.
Are there other nominations?
Yes, I'd like to make a nomination. I wrote up a little bit of something. I usually don't speak that well, so. I'm making a nomination. My decision to nominate Councilman Hahn is from facts, not for reasons some may think. I don't like the process that has been set in place to replace Mayor Richardson. I don't think it's fair to the public. This position is an elected position by the public. It shouldn't be our decision to make for the public. Unfortunately, circumstances make it that way. It's been brought to my attention from a few different people in the public, some businessmen, I should say. They've noticed a strange thing happening with a 4-2 vote on about 90% of what we vote on. It's kind of a bad look to them, and it's kind of a bad look from my point of view. I feel that this is a very important decision for all. And our vote should be made by knowing the statistics, not our personal thoughts or beliefs. And some of these, numbers don't lie. I don't mean to be redundant. I know you've heard it already, but this last mayoral election, Dan Hahn pulled 47.64% of the votes. And Mayor Monty, he pulled 51.89. That shows you something. It shows the public has a little bit of faith. He lost by 127 votes, Councilman Hahn did, out of a total of 3,077 votes. I would also like to note that Councilman Hahn has served our Lander City Fire Department for 39 years, serving numerous positions of authority. He's also served on the Lander City Council for 18 years. And he's been a businessman in this area for a very long time. I think that he shows that he has care for the public. I mean, being a fireman for 39 years and he's still going, he's still a fireman. That shows a lot to me. We do a lot for the public. I'm also a fireman as well. It's not an easy feat, and the things that we get to go out and do for public PR and everything, amazing. We have a lot of fun with the public. I think all that should be taken into consideration, please. Thank you.
Councilman Josh Hahn, thank you. Councilman Dan Hahn, do you accept the nomination? Yeah. Your mic is off, but yes.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment. I've had a lot of time in the last 4 or 5 days to think about a lot of different things, and I wrote a lot of different things. I had pages of material to share with everybody tonight, but I decided to make things simple and to the point. We live in a divided town. We have a divided city council. We have people in the town that think City Hall is broken and we have management issues. We have people in town that think City Hall is doing great. We have people in town that want flood mitigation, a new city park, bike trails. We have people in town that don't want any of the above. They just want their streets and sewers fixed, and let's not forget the potholes. We have people in town that bring their big city liberal views to our little western community, putting their wants over our needs. And there are people in this town that have lived there for many years that just want the simple life and get back to the old lander. We're truly at a crossroads as far as the direction of our city goes. Everybody knows what I stand for, my views, my values. I will not change any of that. I've been consistent for 18 years on the city council, and I believe in fiscal responsibility, and I back myself with facts. And if I happen to be the next mayor, there will be changes, period. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Councilman Hahn. I will now call for nominations 2 more times per the rules that we have, and then I'll invite discussion from other council members. So are there any other nominations for the vacancy of mayor? Are there any other nominations for the vacancy of mayor? Then I've called 3 times. Are there any other discussion items from other council people? Hearing none. Let's take the vote then. If you are, please cast the preference of the candidate that you were voting for during a roll call vote. Councilman Josh Hahn.
Councilman Hahn. Not myself.
Thank you,
but
Councilman
that
Hahn. Yes, thank you. Councilwoman Cox.
Councilwoman White.
Councilman Dan Hahn. Councilwoman White.
Awkward, but I vote for myself, Councilmember Missy White.
Thank you. Councilman Larson.
Missy White.
And I vote for Councilwoman Missy White as well. So by my count, then Councilwoman Missy White receives 4 votes and the majority, and Councilman Dan Hahn receives 2 votes. Councilwoman Missy White, congratulations and thank you. thank you, and Councilman Han, also for being willing to take up the office and for running for this. Take a breath. Our next item of business tonight is to adjourn this meeting and move into a work session. I'll take a motion to adjourn, and then I suggest that we take a 10-minute break before we move into our work session. So who will move to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Thank you, Councilman Larson. Need a second?
Second?
Seconded by Councilwoman White. Councilman Josh Hahn.
Yes.
Councilwoman
Yes.
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 We are adjourned at 6:36 PM and please return if you'd like for the work. Well, council people, you all get to return for the work session in 10 minutes. And if you all want to stay, please do as well. Okay.
Although they were really good. Is she? Linda said hi. Maybe float that idea. Oh, no, she color it's. I say that really hesitantly, but. Mark will go probably this. Well, I'm gonna talk to him about it and say, just think about it. This is the way reasonably safe. Big breath of people. I won't say those guys. Or in addition to that. There you go. Take care of it. Yes. Yeah, that's nice. Interesting. Yeah. But you try and you don't know. Just don't know. You know, the facts speak for themselves. Good words. Good words. Thanks for Should be assumed. So you did a great job.
representation.
This is what happens. We need to fix it. Exactly. It's passed through the law. They don't research it. Which is exactly the risk.
Yes, it does. Yes,
Plus,
it does.
it's something.
Okay, okay. Okay. So you're old school. I like that. But I mean that in the best way. Yeah. We lived here 16 years. And just in the 16 years. Good, well, I hope I see you.
Yeah.